It's a little different with a class. One all right, go for it.
Go ahead.
Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere on the 18th of April in 75. Hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. Then he said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch. One if by land and two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm, for the country folk to be up and to arm. Then he said goodnight, and with a muffled oar silently rowed to Charleston shore. Just as the moon rose over the bay, where swinging white at her moorings lay the Somerset, British man of war, with each mast and spar across the moon like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide. Meanwhile his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till in the silence around him he hears the muster of men at the barrack door, the sound of arms and the tramp of feet, and the measured tread of grenadiers, all marching down to their boats on the shore. Then he climbed up the north church tower, up the wooden stairs with stealthy tread to the belfry chamber overhead, installed the pigeons from their perch on the somber rafters that round him made masses of moving shapes of shade. By the trembling ladder, steep and tall, to the highest window in the wall, where he paused a moment to listen and look down, a moment on the roofs of the town with moonlight flowing over all. Beneath in the churchyard lay the dead, in the night encampment on the hill, wrapped in silence so deep and still. Then he could hear, like a sentinel's tread, the watchful night wind as it went, creeping along from tent to tent, seeming to whisper, all is well. A moment only he feels the spell of the place and the hour and the secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead. Suddenly all his thoughts are bent on a shadowy something far away, where the river widens to meet the bay, like a line of black that bends and floats on the rising tide like a bridge of boats. Meanwhile, impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with a heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked Paul Revere. Now he patted his horse's side, now gazed on the landscape far and near, then impetuous stamped the earth, and turned and tightened his saddle's girth, but mostly watched with eager search the tower of the old North Church, as it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral, somber and still. And those who looks upon the belfry's height, a glimmer and then a gleam of light, he jumps onto his saddle, the bridle he turns, but leans and gazes still full in his sight. A second lamp in the belfry burns. A hurry of hoofs in the village street, a shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark. Shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark.
Beneath.
What?
And
beneath from the pebbles and passing a spark that was struck out by a steed that flies fearless and fleet. And that was all. And yet through the gloom and the light, the fate of the nation was riding that night. He has left the village and mounted the steep, and beneath him tranquil and broad and deep, is the mystic meeting the ocean's tide. And under the alders, it's heard now soft on the sand, now loud on the ledge, is heard the tramp of his steed as he rides. It is 12 by the village clock when he when he crossed the bridge into Medford town. He heard the crowing of the cock and the barking of the farmer's dog, and he felt the damp of the river fog that rises when the sun goes down. It was 1 by the village clock when he galloped into Lexington. He saw the gilded weathercock swim in the moonlight as he passed, and the meeting house windows, blank and bare, gazed at him with a spectral glare, as if they already stood aghast to the bloody work they were to look upon. It's 2 by the village clock when he came to the bridge in Concord town. He heard the bleating of the flock, and the twitter of the birds among the trees, and he felt the breath of the morning breeze, and When one was safe and asleep in his bed, who that day would be first to fall? Who at the bridge would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball? You know the rest in the books that I've read, how the British regulars fired and fled. How the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall. And from behind each, and chased the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the fields to emerge again under the trees at the road, only pausing to fire and load. So through the night rode Paul Revere, so through the night went his cry of alarm, a cry of defiance, through every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance and not of fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door, a word that shall echo forevermore. And born in the night wind of the past, through all our history to the last, in the hour of darkness and peril and need, people shall waken and listen to hear the hurry of hoofbeats of his steed and the midnight message of Paul Revere. The end.